Welcome to the Happy Dog, Happy Human podcast, where we explore the intersection between human mental health and our relationships with dogs. This is Sharon.
And I'm Angela. In season 2, we're exploring social and cultural phenomena that impact our well-being so we can reduce stigma and challenge the status quo, while also learning better ways to care for ourselves and our dogs throughout the journey. We hope you love it.
Hey everyone, this is Angela.
And this is Sharon. We are giggling because every time before we press record, we're always like, okay, who's going to talk first? And sometimes we forget.
I completely forgot. But hey everyone.
Here we are. Welcome to episode 18 on success with dogs. Today we are going to talk about success and how it impacts our relationships with dogs. So we're exploring whether or not dogs set goals or strive for success, how they might feel about failure, and how our perceptions of success and failure impact our relationships with them.
Sounds great. You said it all. Let's definitely do some breathing before, because I think we just came into this a little chaotic, even though we felt ready.
Yeah.
So let's take a couple of breaths so you won't hear us while we're taking breaths. And we encourage listeners and viewers to please take breaths with us. And then you'll hear from us in a couple of seconds. So here we go.
All right. See you soon.
I just had like a personal revelation that I would really like to share.
Yeah,
It was really weird.
Whoa, tell us.
Yes, I know. Well, so it's okay. We're gonna just digress for a second because I think maybe people can relate to this. So I choose a word for every year as an intention.
Mm.
And coming into, I've been thinking about it because it's the end of the year. And my word or words for next year is to slow down. And I just realized something while I was breathing here and relaxing is that I'm really afraid of slowing down for two reasons. One, I'm so tired, I'm actually afraid that I'm going to fall asleep. And two, I'm afraid that if I slow down, I won't be able to be productive anymore. Because I'll fall asleep, because I'm too relaxed, and I'm afraid of losing the sense of productivity.
I can totally relate to that.
So that was a very good breathing session. Thank you, Sharon.
You're welcome. Yeah, I think what you're also describing is that like when you slow down, certain things are able to come into your awareness.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Because part of our our mind anyway, drive to be productive is definitely a way of numbing.
Yeah, constantly staying busy. And it's the holidays right now, so like I feel like that pressure to keep busy is even like magnified right now.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, it's the end of the year always subconsciously there's a lot of stuff that comes up, and moving into success also. The end of the year you start thinking about like, what did I meet my goals this year? What are my goals for next year? So like there's anxiety about, oh shoot, I didn't meet them all. What does that mean about me? And then for next year, will I be able to? And like just anxiety of a fear of failure or fear of success, whatever emotions you might be having around it.
Yeah, last year I did a really cool practice, which was in one of my end of year newsletters. I listed a recap of all the things that I felt like I accomplished, and none of them were like typical things that people think of. It was like I practiced listening to my body better. and I like prioritized doing things with my partner or with my dog, you know, instead of like how many followers I got or how many sales I made or things like that. And
I
that
really
was
love
really helpful.
that. It's more, that feels more like it's like you're looking at quality of over quantity kind of, right? Like what was
Yeah.
the quality successes that don't have to do with what we typically believe about what makes us successful.
Yeah.
And yeah, last year I remember getting very triggered by seeing a lot of people on it on Instagram, which is what we were talking about last time, people talking about the numbers that they hit or the sales they made and like making reels about it. And when
Mhm.
I went to look into that, I just started getting anxiety about it. And I think I also did something similar, that I ended up reframing it as like, what was successful? Well, we raised a bunch of money for charity, and even $1 for charity is successful in my mind,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it is about like reframing. And I think we talked about it last time, we'll talk about it again after the break. Like, how do we reframe what success means to us to fit, our personal lives? And it is a personal thing for everybody.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I really like the reframe practice that we're doing.
Me too. Me too. Well, and actually, it makes me want to start talking about, which is the opposite of our outline, but it actually made me want to start talking about how we relate to our dogs and how they impact the way we view ourselves as successful or not.
Yeah. I think there's a lot here in terms of like um being like what does it mean to be a successful dog guardian or a quote unquote good dog guardian and how our dog's behavior might contribute to how we feel about that or whether or not we believe we are successful at that.
Yeah, and then also, we talked about in previous episodes of like what makes a good dog versus a bad dog. And of course, you can translate into like what makes a successful dog and not a successful dog, right? And maybe you can even think about it in the terms of like their jobs, right? Like as what their role is as pet, or some dogs actually have jobs. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's interesting maybe to look at it like that also, like what makes them, you know, successful at like their role.
Mm. Oh yeah, that's super interesting. I think, do you have any, do you want to like share an example or like what do you think in terms of your dogs as pets and their role in that?
Well, my dogs, I mean, they're all in the role of pet. And I was thinking today, Biscuit would be and I think he would love it, being one of those agility
Ooh,
dogs.
yeah.
Train like I might sign him up for one of those agility trainings and see if he likes it, because
That,
that's a different role, right? I mean, then he gets to compete or maybe feel good about that, feel successful himself, give him like self, confidence. Those types
mm,
of things can be positive for them as well, right? Um,
absolutely.
but
What
well, I
about
mean,
him? Oh, sorry, I have a question.
go ahead, go ahead. No, no, no. Yeah. What do you think?
What about Biscuit makes you think that he would like that?
Well, I see just the way he runs and like how much he enjoys cutting through trees and
Mm,
like ducking and trying to catch something he thinks is in the distance.
mm,
And he also loves he's such a for him, like his rewards, he loves to be cuddled, and like I can tell he feels really good when he's like done something that gives him a boost of confidence, and even now if it's him like with recall, he
mhm.
gets super excited when he comes to me. It's very funny because
Oh,
now I have these three dogs, and I see like with Duchess, she just wants the treat, like she's all about it, but Biscuit's just very excited that he's like, oh, I came, look, 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 look at me, like,
aw.
I want some love. So, but I just see how much he enjoys the running and the just the sport, I guess, of like the
Mhm.
way it moves. That's what makes me think that he would really enjoy it.
Nice. Yeah, it sounds like he would.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, so what was I gonna say?
Well, we were kind of going and talking about like the role that the dogs play as pets.
Right. Well, and this always goes back, and I've talked about this before, but Duchess's reactivity, um, especially because she's in the role of pet, and I wanted her to be in the role of sort of like pet that I can take around and people can have positive experiences with her that are therapeutic in some way. And she did not turn out to be that way.
Mhm.
And that definitely translated into feeling like I was doing something wrong in the way that I raised her, and I still have guilt about it. Sometimes I think it's my fault, or that I wasn't a successful dog parent because I didn't really know what I was doing when I got her.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, like that still comes up for me. Sometimes I feel like I mean, I especially get triggered, and it used to be a lot worse because she's definitely calmed down a lot. But anytime she's nipped someone, or she gets aggressive with another dog, or she, is aggressive with a human being, I mean, it's not even aggressive because I know her now that sets boundaries.
Mm.
Sorry. And I feel such a sense of like disappointment
Mm.
when those things happen.
Mhm.
And I feel like this is, there's a lot of layers to this, but I do think it relates to how I view myself as a successful dog parent.
Yeah. Oh, I relate to that so much in terms of like how Muggins's behavior has impacted me as a dog guardian. And I feel like it's been like twofold because I feel like, or I believe that like when people see how Muggins behaves, whether it's like they're lunging at something on the leash or jumping on a guest or whatever, I feel like it reflects on me both as a dog guardian and as a dog professional. Like as a behavior professional, I feel, and this kind of like relates to perfectionism, but like I feel like if my dog doesn't behave the right way, then I'm not a successful behavior professional, but then I'm also not a successful dog guardian.
I think that's so interesting because who says that in order to be successful, we need to be perfectly successful at it all the time?
Right? Yeah, I don't know.
Right? Like successful for some reason in our minds is like there's no room for error.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting too with our dog's behavior that like we feel like we are supposed to have all the control over what they do, like in terms of like how we raise them. Like if they misbehave, we feel like, oh, what did we do wrong? Or even dogs who have like been adopted from the shelter or something like that, if they show aggression towards something, we assume like, oh, somebody did something to them in the past to make them that way. And behavior is so much more complex than that. It's not based on like what one person does, you know what I mean? Like you were describing Duchess as setting boundaries. And so like the way she behaves, like some of it might be contributed to by her experiences with you, but also she has her own internal experience that's happening. And whatever the other person does, like if they cross her boundaries or don't recognize that she has set a boundary, they are also contributing to her behavior.
It also that really makes me think about how I think the reason people say, "Oh, my dog behaves this way because they were abused," make those assumptions is also because of the anxiety of like how people are going to view me as like a non-successful
Mm.
dog guardian because they snap, because they whine, because yeah, and there are these behaviors that you really don't know, I mean, there's so much nuance, there's so many layers. We have no idea why they may be behaving that way. And also it's just natural. Like we all have undesirable traits and dogs do too that we find undesirable, right? Because it doesn't fit for us necessarily, but all humans have undesirable traits also.
Mhm.
We have a hard time with that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we definitely do. And I think, yeah, I was thinking about how that what you were saying initially, like how it's kind of like deflection, like we don't want people to think that we did something to the dog or that we're not caring for them in the best or the right way. And so we try to explain like, oh, it must have been something in their past that's contributing to this. And like, probably neither. It's like neither thing. It's like not what happened in the
Yeah.
past, and it's not what I'm doing either. Like I think about Muggins with nail trims with this, because a lot of people would say like, oh, if the dog had a bad experience, then they don't like having their nails trimmed, right? And so if you adopt a dog and they don't like having their nails trimmed, you might think about, oh, something happened in the past to make you not like this. But I know for a fact Muggins has never had a bad experience with nail trims, and always like as soon as I adopted them, we would practice it, and Muggins loved me touching their paws and still likes me touching their paws. But after they turned 1 year old and they got really into like hunting chipmunks and things, they stopped wanting me to trim their nails. And
Hmm.
so, and it's like, it's not about a past experience. It's not about something that I'm doing, because I know that I'm like practicing consent and making sure that they have a choice and giving them treats, and like all of that. And Muggins just doesn't want their nails to be trimmed. And so like I think about it as like it could be a sensory processing thing, that like just because of their physiology and how sensitive they are, they don't like the feeling of it. Or they have a preference, like they actually prefer their nails to be long.
Yeah, I mean, that also really makes me think because Duchess is, going into her senior years. I've watched her go through many different phases of preferences. And that's also another thing. Like, again, we need to understand that dogs are beings. And with her, I've watched her go through preferences, toward other dogs and toward people, and it has ebbed and flowed a lot. And so now she's like pretty chill with strangers. She doesn't nip at them. Dogs, yeah, sometimes she has her, I don't like you nip. Um, but there's been periods where she loves playing with other dogs when she was younger.
Mhm.
And when she was younger, she was absolutely terrified of people and reacted in a way that was, undesirable because she nips at people.
Mm.
Um, and has gotten the occasional bite, and that's been very scary, of course.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, my point is like even hearing the story about Muggins is again like it sounds like they're going through a phase that they're not um enjoying the nail clipping like they were before, but maybe they will in the future. And I think that this is the issue when we're so black and white about like, and we've been talking about this throughout this whole season, when we put these black and white blanket ideas or qualities or statements onto people or animals or whatnot, we're missing so much.
Mhm.
And um, we're oversimplifying uh, you know, canine and human behavior.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and I think we're missing a lot of like who the individual is, like because we're trying to like explain all these external reasons why the dog might be doing something or not doing something, and we're forgetting that like they are their own being. They have a personality, they have ideas, they have things that they want and don't want that just come from them internally.
Yeah, and I've been thinking about that a lot with Pepper and Biscuit because, they've been together this whole time. So they've coming from the same places. And, I'm pretty sure there has been some sort of abuse or like uh trying to rule by fear from a human because of their behavior. But they both are so different in how they've responded to that. And that's also the individual. So, like, maybe this trauma has occurred for them, but they do not behave in the same way
Mhm.
at all because of their individual needs, which I see, you
Mhm.
know, in both of them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that. I think that's just speaks to neurodiversity, just that like every single nervous system is starts out different and unique, and then the experiences that we each have contribute to the development of our nervous system, and we develop in different ways. Even if we've experienced the same thing, we haven't experienced it from the same perspective.
I think that's why those twin studies are just so fascinating for psychological, purposes that, basically there's tons of studies on this, but I think psychologists have been very interested in general historically at looking at identical twins who have the same DNA,
Mhm.
um, you know, come from the same uterus, but they have completely different life experiences, even in the birthing experience, which we've talked about with trauma before, you
Mhm.
know, which happens a lot with twins because it is a high risk
Mm.
birth. And one might end up squished and the other one not. One might be bigger, one might be smaller, whatever, but they do start out exactly the same,
Mm.
and live in the same environments and then have completely different outcomes as
Mhm.
they grow older.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really fascinating. Mm.
Yeah, so yeah, it's definitely interesting. Like in our role as dog guardians, how do we define success? Um, Actually, I can answer that question. It popped up in my head right away. I just want my doggies to be happy.
Oh, yeah,
For me,
totally.
that's success, and I think that's what I struggle with. Oh my gosh, I might actually tear up. That's what I struggle with when I see Duchess being grumpy or growly. I don't think she's happy, and I get mad and sad, and all of the feelings come up. But I do think ultimately it's because of that, because I want her to feel happy. I want her to feel comfortable. And it's the same with my new doggies. Sometimes they at the moment have a lot of restricted access to things because of our living situation and because they're new doggies and they're getting used to their new life.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, sometimes I worry that they're not happy, and I really struggle with that.
Mhm.
And I feel a lot of guilt and um, anxiety around them feeling discomfort or not being happy. And
Mhm.
that's for me, like, yeah, nurturing, loving them, and caring for them is what I like define as success as a
Yeah.
dog.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and I think when your dog, especially when dogs are displaying aggression or um anxiety behaviors, that feels like they're definitely not happy, right? And I've actually heard some of my clients say that they're like say something to that where it's like they're like, why, I thought if I just loved you enough, that you would be happy, or like kind of like struggling with like, why are you doing this? I'm doing everything for you. I'm giving you, you can sleep on the couch, I'm giving you the best food, like I get you a dog walker, I take you to daycare, like why isn't that enough? And I think that what I just said makes me realize that like we're that definitely contributes to our perception of ourselves as caregivers, and how we feel like we have to do enough or like we're not doing enough somehow. And it comes out especially when the dog has these challenging behaviors.
Yeah, and I think that ties up with perfectionism so much too, because then you start thinking, am I doing it the right way? Or what is the
Mhm.
right way of doing it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
How do you define success for you as a dog guardian?
For me, a lot of it, especially with muggins, is coming up with their hygiene and medical care. And I
And
feel really like it's such a challenge for me because of Muggins's touch sensitivity. There are certain things that they are just not comfortable with, like getting their ears cleaned, for example. And we talked about this before, how like I flushed the ear and they did have a bad experience with it. And now they will be okay with me looking in the ear, but it's still like I feel like I'm not doing good enough if I can't clean it, right? Because I had a dog in the past where I could clean her ears anytime I wanted and always made sure she had clean ears. And like with Muggins, I have to be like, okay, it's a little waxy. And I have to like leave it and let it be that way. And then I struggle because I'm like, oh my gosh, what if somebody like sees my dog's ears are dirty, Or what if they get an infection? You know what I mean? And it's because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not cleaning them enough. And so, yeah, so I'm always challenged in that area with muggins because we have to go really slow and they have to have a lot of control and I can't just do the things, you know?
Mm, that makes sense. Yeah. That sounds like, yeah, it sounds like, well, where there is the challenge, that's where we struggle with this like idea of success also, you
Yeah,
know. And it goes back again to what I was saying before, like when did we think that success has to look perfect or be perfect also?
right.
Because, there is no perfect path or easy path to success. And even for people who seem, successful by society standards, most of them, if you listen to their stories, they did not get there linearly,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
and now I feel like Duchess is a pretty well-rounded, she's her and I accept her for who she is, and she's chilled out. She seems more comfortable around people, around dogs. She sets her boundaries, which, I'm proud of her for that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, now I guess I feel like she's like a successful dog
Yeah.
after years and years, and it was not a straight line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it also wasn't, you didn't get to a point where she never growls or is always happy and like wiggly and happy to interact
Yeah.
with people. You know, it's like part of it was her kind of coming into her own, but also it was you adjusting your expectations.
Yeah, it was both, absolutely. And I realize that whenever I get frustrated with Pepper or Biscuit, I realize I'm like, I don't really know you guys very well. Like
Mm,
we're still getting to know each other.
yeah,
Duchess, I mean, I've known her since she was, 6 weeks old and she's 8.5. So that's a lot of time to really understand each other, and how each other works.
right. Yeah, it takes a long time to get
Yeah.
better in
Well,
that.
and that's part of building a relationship,
Yeah, yeah,
and it's not just going to be like you get put a dog in your house and then it's suddenly like, yeah, what you expected it to be with the dog sitting by the fireplace.
right. Yeah, it takes a little while to get there.
And I think
If
with
you ever
Pepper
get
and
there.
Biscuit, they have the opportunity that they're more like the second children, right? So I'm going into it with like more information,
Mhm.
more ways of knowing where to seek help. I mean, it's like a completely different way of approaching them. Um, and also not really having expectations of them being, you know, a certain way because I know that that's not realistic.
Right. Yeah.
And they all have their things. I mean, all three of them, they have the things that I find undesirable and annoying. And they all three have this like lovely things that I love about them. And it's completely different for all three of them.
Yeah. Yeah. They're all unique individuals.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So I'm
Oh,
curious about the idea of dogs setting goals or whether or not they strive for success or feel proud of themselves when they accomplish something or feel something else when they don't accomplish something. Like, do you notice anything like that about your dogs?
I'm laughing silently over here because my first thought, I've got Biscuit I mean, Pepper's head is on my lap right now. So I had to think about her first.
Mhm.
But she really wants to get to my parents' cat. And I
Ah,
can see that she feels very disappointed
mm,
and that she struggles with frustration that she is not able to access the cat.
yeah. Mhm.
And whenever she wiggles her way, she actually wiggled her way out of the gate the other day. She pushed it, smart dog, figuring it out.
Sneaky.
She ended up finding the cat, and I think she felt very proud of herself.
So how could you tell that she felt proud?
That's a really good question. Well, actually, what's funny? She went up to the cat and then she kind of just stopped.
Hmm.
Like it was like, oh, I reached my goal. Now what?
She didn't think about what happens next.
It's very funny. And it wasn't even like a phrase response or something. She just was like, oh, here's the cat. And the cat looked at her and they just had a moment. Like it wasn't even a bad moment.
Mhm.
Then I went and got Pepper. I was like, okay, it's time to go now. But
That's really cool, actually,
yeah,
because I feel
she seemed
like
pretty proud of herself.
good. Yeah. Yeah. I love how it was just kind of like anticlimactic.
It was very anticlimactic. It was kind of funny. The cat was just like, what do you want?
That's awesome. Good cat for living with dogs.
Oh yeah, poor thing. No, but that's more of a, that's like a silly, but it is. I mean, she feels like a failure and feels like it seems like she feels frustrated and like unsuccessful
Mm,
and not and being gated when the cat comes in the room and she so desperately wants to be able to get to it.
mm.
Um, but it's never enough, she wants more.
Yeah. Yeah. They always want more.
Yeah. Yes. So what about you? Does Muggins do anything that seems that maybe they understand or not understand, but feel successful or feel like a failure?
Mm. Well, they definitely have goals, and I see them like they have the goal in their head for a long time before it like comes to fruition. Like for example, we used to meet up at a like at the firehouse near our house. They have a field and we used to meet up there with our friends and their dogs. And so a lot of times on our morning walks, Muggins has the goal to go to that field and play with friends. And you can tell like right from the start of the walk that like that's Muggins's mission and they're going that direction and they're going to the field. And sometimes they'll even like sit and wait and like look at the like entrance to the field to like wait for other people to come. And and when the friends don't come, there's definitely a disappointment. I have to like really help Muggins leave the field because they don't want to give up. They're like really like, no, this is going to happen if I wait long enough. But they'll be like, they'll walk slower on the way home and they'll just come home and be kind of like sad a little bit. And then I noticed that they're like the rest of the day, maybe they're like really trying to find other dogs to play with. Like they'll want to walk to like by the neighbor's house and look behind their fence to see if the dog is out or, like they'll go and check and like, so they still have this goal. Like I really want to play with my friends and I didn't get it earlier, so I'm going to try again.
Oh, that's really fascinating. I love how you're highlighting that it's like a preconceived thought. Like I think that really shows us, how dogs can think ahead and that they're not just necessarily like in the moment all the time.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and I love their problem solving skills too. Like I didn't get it before, so now I'm gonna look for another friend.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's similar how Pepper also, she's like, if I can't jump over this gate, I'm gonna figure out how to get out of this so I can get to my goal, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Dogs are really good at problem solving and thinking of other ways to do something when they want something enough.
Yeah, yes, yes, yes. And another way I actually was thinking about maybe where I see frustration is when they're doing enrichment games. So maybe if you put treats in a little Kong. Okay, this is kind of me being not very thoughtful, but I put kibble in these tiny little holes of a Kong toy,
Yeah.
and it was impossible for them to get it.
Oh, no.
And I think they got really frustrated because that was their goal is to get the kibble out. I feel so bad. So actually, you know what I did? I started buying that Kong disgusting soft stuff. I don't know if you've ever
Oh,
used
that easy
it
cheese
before.
stuff?
Yeah, it's so gross. But whatever,
Nice.
it's they can lick it and it's a more enjoyable experience than me
Yeah,
putting a tiny piece of kibble in there. But I
exactly.
definitely,
Yeah.
I've witnessed them get frustrated and leave it, to as a way to deal with like, okay, I can't get this. It's never gonna happen. So I'm gonna have to walk away.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so interesting because Muggins has never been one to like try hard to get food out of a Kong. They're like, I just give it to, I just want to eat it. Like when I'm making the Kongs, I put things inside of them and then freeze it. And a
Mhm.
lot of times Muggins will leave it on the floor to let it melt first, and then they'll go back and get the
That's
food.
also these problem solving skills. Like,
Yeah,
I want this, I want to meet this goal. So how am I going to do it in the easiest way possible?
exactly. Like I'm not gonna try hard. I'm just gonna wait till it melts.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
They're like, why are
I
you?
noticed that also with the three dogs that there's a difference with that. That's and also depends their mood. Because
Yeah.
I used to think that Pepper was more food driven, but she's not. It just depends on Biscuit's mood.
Oh,
If
interesting.
Biscuit's into it, Biscuit's into it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also kind of interesting. And Duchess will always just try her hardest to get something out. She
Oh,
loves her little snacks.
mm-hmm. What a good girl.
Yeah. Ah,
So the opposite of like, I was thinking about like frustration when they don't reach the goal, but when they do reach the goal, like we talked about, like is like Pepper feeling proud of finding the cat. But there's also this phenomenon of dogs rolling in things, right? Rolling in
oh yes.
disgusting things.
Yes, like fox poop.
Yes, or like dead seals at the beach.
Oh,
My dog did
okay.
that.
Never heard that one before.
Yeah,
That's
that was a new
disgusting.
one. But so dogs do that because it's a way to communicate, right? It's like a way to tell your friends what you saw.
Oh,
And so it's like, to me, I think of pride, like,
yes,
guess what I
100.
did today?
Oh, I had no idea. That's really interesting. So they want to get the scent on them to bring it back.
Yes, exactly.
Just,
Which I
huh.
think is really cool. Like thinking about like, oh, if I smell like this, then my friends are going to know where I was today or what I found today. And it's a way to communicate an idea.
Wow, wow. That's super cool. So they definitely like in their behavior showing or exhibiting pride, which I think that's so cool. That makes me smile.
Yeah, totally.
I
I love dogs.
do so, so great. So much.
Right?
I was telling my husband today on the walk with our doggies, I was like, dogs are just so much better than children. Like, why did it? Because they're so much more rewarding.
I think it
Sorry,
gets
Mara.
rewarding faster with dogs than with human kids.
Yeah, I think that's what it is also. It's faster and more visible.
Yeah.
Maybe, I'm the mother of a human toddler. So I'm sure in a couple of years I will feel differently. Although I did get to see her in a school play last night, and that was definitely
Oh,
okay. It was a proud moment. So
so cute.
yeah. All right. Should we take our break? I feel like this is a good spot.
Yeah, definitely. And then when we come back, we will talk about how to reframe success as a dog guardian and how to help our dogs when they feel frustrated when they don't reach their goals. We are so grateful to Benson's Pet Center for partnering with us on today's episode. Benson's Pet Center is a multi generational, family owned, and operated business with 8 locations in the New York capital region. Benson's has the largest selection of pet food in the area. If they don't have what you're looking for, they'll even order it for you. You can bring your dog with you to pick out their favorite treats, and you can even give them a bath at the self serve dog wash in 3 of their locations. Benson's has competitive pricing even on subscription services, and I love knowing that my dollars are supporting a local business. The customer service at Benson's is consistently unparalleled, and the staff's extensive knowledge on pet nutrition is amazing. Can't make it out to the store? No problem. Order online before 3 p.m. on weekdays, and Benson's offers same day delivery. And curbside pickup is available 7 days a week. Benson's Pet Center, where the motto is, we love your pets. Thank you, Benson's. Now back to the show. All right, so we're going to start this segment with a quote, one of my least favorites. And
I
it
did not
goes,
expect you to say that. That was great.
I hate this question. But this is what I've heard a lot of people say throughout my whole life when they see me walking a dog, especially if the dog is a large dog and if it's pulling on the leash. People love to say, who's walking who? Uh-huh.
I've gotten that before with Duchess also.
Oh,
So
interesting.
small dog, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, first thing that pops into my head is I feel like only women get told that by men.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never seen a man get asked that question.
And I've never been asked by a woman.
Mm.
So yeah.
Yeah, I
So
think
what
it's
makes
like,
you, oh, go ahead, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it comes from this idea that we are supposed to be controlling our dogs. Like we are walking the dog, we are in control. We are human. We control the beasts. That kind of like framework. And so if the dog is like pulling on the leash and or like I'm a small person walking a large dog, then it's like this people are like think it's funny and also they're perceiving that I don't have control over the dog.
Yeah, I mean, it's this idea of like that's what makes you successful, right? Like to be the owner, to be
Yeah.
the boss,
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
which is a very patriarchal idea, right? Like I'm in charge, I'm the boss, like
Mm,
boss of the family, whatever that
right.
may translate into.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like anthropocentric in this like idea that humans are supposed to be like more intelligent and more like evolved beings than dogs are, and that we have to control them for some reason.
And there's been a lot, I mean, there's so much, dominance theory training all comes from that. And that quote comes from that as well, right? So,
Yeah, yeah.
um, yeah, and this idea that there's the alpha and what's the other one? The alpha, the
Whatever. It's
beta,
letters.
omega, one of those
Yeah.
Greek letters. But that was for a long time how people sort of viewed, I guess the framework of training came from that idea of hierarchy that you may see with animals.
Right, right. Which is completely false. There is like dogs do not operate within a value or a power hierarchy.
Mm.
There's no alpha. Yeah, not even with wolves. So,
Oh, that's very interesting. You know who does operate like that though?
ooh,
Humans.
oh, so interesting.
And we're projecting it onto dogs. That's what we're
Exactly.
doing.
Yes. Yeah, I really feel like alpha theory and dominance theory are like were developed so that we could practice dominating dogs and
Yeah.
feel like, oh, that's what they want us to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Peppy is trying to jump on the bed and she just keeps missing.
Oh
Poor
man.
baby.
Some steps, Pepper.
Yeah, we have some on the other bed. Um, so
So the way you
so
want to hear how I respond to this question?
oh, I would love to. Please let the audience know and me.
Yeah. So whenever somebody asks me who's walking who, I say we're walking together.
I love that.
Mhm.
That's a really good answer. It's hard sometimes when strangers say weird things to you on the street. The hardest thing is to have a good answer, and we often ignore.
Mhm.
Um, but if you feel safe to respond, like that's just a great way to respond. I love it. We're
Mhm.
walking together.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's really like what I feel like we're doing. Like I'm trying to say instead of I'm taking Muggins for a walk, I try to say I'm going for a walk with Muggins to like just get it into my own head. Like this is what's happening. We're doing it together. And I do feel really frustrated if like yesterday, for example, Muggins was just really into sniffing things the entire walk, wouldn't eat any treats, and like so it felt like they were really disconnected from me. And I was like, hey, we're supposed to be walking together.
Oh, I love that though, because sometimes it's true. Like walks can feel like you're disconnected from each other or that you're not in sync.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can have great walks. Like it just
Hmm.
depends on what's going on, of course, your moods and your goals.
Yeah,
What
exactly.
goal you're trying to reach.
Right.
And sometimes our goal is just to get the dogs some exercise, and then those are not the best walks because we're kind of doing it we're forcing ourselves to do it, for their benefit, which is part of being a dog guardian.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like we have to try to like there are things that we know are good for them, but then we also have to consider what they need from their own perspective, right? So like they do need exercise, but also they need time to sniff around their environment. So like we can't
Yes.
just be walking fast the whole walk if the dog really needs to stop and smell things.
That's why I really like those long line leashes.
Yeah.
Because then
Yeah.
you can walk at your own pace and then the dogs can sniff. And usually by the time you get to the end of the line, they're already continuing on. That's been my experience anyway.
Yeah, I think that's always great. If there's in any situation where it feels safe to have a longer leash, do it because you'll just
Yeah,
be happier.
absolutely. Um, so
Do you
shall we talk about reframing our ideas of success and failure when it comes to being a dog parent?
Yes, definitely. And I just love right now, like Pepper is on your lap and her head is right under yours. And it's like she really wants to make sure that you're paying attention to her right now.
If I ever sleep with her, she sleeps next to my head, or
Oh,
like her head is on my shoulder. It's very sweet.
so sweet.
Yeah, she just wants to be on her back though.
I love
That's
that.
really what she's trying to do.
Just hold me like a
I've
baby.
also got Biscuit here for anyone who's
There you go.
watching.
Hi,
So
Biscuit.
got this one here, this one on her back.
So sweet. I love
Maybe
that.
I should just leave it like this. It's more entertaining.
You're on the show,
Yeah.
Pepper. What do you have to say for yourself?
She's like, can I just go back on my back, please? And can you rub my belly? She's like arching. That's what's happening. They're very silly pups. In the most, oh my gosh, look, Biscuit won't let me move
Like,
my
touch me. You
computer.
have to be touching
Yeah.
me also. So cute.
Oh, this one's leaving now. Okay, bye
Hi.
bye.
Thanks for your
Oh,
guest
this
appearance.
one. Thank you for your paw, sir.
Don't forget about me.
um, so anyway, sorry for the little break of Pepper and Biscuit being adorable. You guys,
Yeah.
if you're only listening, you should watch this later.
Mhm. Yes.
Um,
Very cute.
oh, reframing. Okay, so reframing success as a dog parent and failure. I mean, I think I touched a little bit on it when I was talking about how I feel like Duchess is in her prime, in her successful years, going into her senior years. Um, well, because I the reason I'm even saying it's successful is because I reframed it. And the reframe there is some of her reactive behaviors I've learned are boundary setting, which is successful. She actually is really good at saying what she wants and what she doesn't. Um, I yeah, I mean, I think I need to also forgive myself for the things that I didn't know
Yeah.
when I was younger and a first time dog guardian.
Mhm.
Um, and it doesn't mean that I wasn't successful, because, I was saying before, my definition of success is to have a happy, well-rounded pup. And she is now, whatever her journey was, this is where she got to. So that's how I've been redefining it. And even with Pepper and Biscuit, I was having so much anxiety about feeling like they don't have enough freedom, but I've had to reframe that right now the structure and the not confinement, but the small spaces that they're sort of floating through, except for when we're outside walking and running and going to parks and stuff, that's actually good for them. And it's going to contribute to them being successful and well-rounded pups and successfully integrated into our family.
Mm, yeah. So it sounds like a one thing I was thinking of when you were talking is that like the time frame to reach your goal might be like you might be expecting yourself to achieve a certain goal within a few months, and really it might take years for, you know, for your dog to develop the skills or the behaviors that you're looking for or wanting. And then also there's just changing your expectations and realizing like, okay, this expectation just isn't realistic. And I need to actually understand why the dog is doing this and accept that they need to do this way. And it doesn't have a reflection on me.
I think the other, like, as you're speaking, I'm just realizing we sort of touched on this last time also, that we need to be flexible in changing our expectations, and that it's okay to change your mind and your expectations and your goals. And that goes also for how we parent pups, because different things come up. There's different scenarios. There's different situations. It's life does not work in a predicted way. So if we're rigid in our goal setting, I think that sets us up for failure and sets our dogs up for failure.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think the place where I've tried to be more flexible with Muggins is with our hygiene care. And so I really feel like, well, one way that I address this like shift in expectations is by practicing hygiene care every day. Like we made it part of our routine. And the goal of each session is not to clip the nails or clean the ears or anything like that. The goal of the session is honestly to just like sit down together and interact. And like however we like whatever we get done or don't get done isn't really part of whether or not that practice is a success.
Yeah, and that's so great, because otherwise you're just going to get frustrated, and you both of you, and you're going to not end up, um that could end up rupturing your relationship in small ways instead of building it.
Yeah.
And that's what's important about being, I love that you did that, because I know that that's been difficult, like a frustration of yours, a frustration of for Muggins also. And that just like just by doing that, you're just like completely changing the playing field for the both of you.
Yeah. Yeah. And now it's become a practice that Muggins asks for every day. Like they will like get frustrated if I haven't initiated our care time. I call it care time practice. And so like
I like it.
you know, like they really want that because they love the connection that we
Yeah,
have.
I was about to say that connection is what they like, and they like that you're paying attention to them.
Yeah, exactly.
In a certain, in a certain way for that period of time.
Yeah.
So how do we help them deal with their frustration? When Muggins gets frustrated during care time, how do you help them deal with it?
Yeah. So I'm going to introduce our care tip for today, which is called the Sniff Box. So
Love how you did that right there.
So one of the things that you listeners might have heard about is something called Snuffle Mats, which is like a product you can buy that is like a mat that has like things hanging off of it and like places where you can hide treats so that your dogs can sniff around and like have a sniffing activity. But if you can't afford a snuffle mat or you can't find one, you can just like make a sniffing apparatus for your dog. And so what I use is just your regular old cardboard box. So I'm sure if you have an Amazon delivery or any kind of cardboard box, you can just get something like that. And then you can put different things inside of it. Like you can put toys inside or balls. You can put towels or like crumpled up newspaper, just anything to kind of like create nooks and crannies in the box. And then you're just going to drop some treats into it and put it on the floor and let your dog sniff it. And so I leave a box like this in my kitchen at all times. And so Muggins can go to the box and like ask for me to put treats into it. Sometimes they'll go to the box and they'll put their feet inside and scratch And that is
Huh.
how they deal with frustration. Like they're like, I'm frustrated. I need to like rip up something or dig something. So they could just go to the box and do that. And it's like, it's just a cardboard box. So that's fine if it gets ripped up. And I will also use it during care time as like a break. So Muggins maybe will be like filing the nails or looking inside the ears or just holding the paws. And we'll do that a couple of times. And then I'll have the box like off to the side and I'll toss some treats in. So then Muggins can leave me and go to the box and take a break from our care time. And then that also gives them an opportunity to choose to come back to me if they want to do more care time or not. They can stay at the box and ask for more treats or something if they'd rather do that. So it's like it gives us a nice structure and it becomes a resource that Muggins can use as well.
I love that. I have a smaller version of that. And sometimes I just do dinner in there now
Oh
for
yeah,
the
like put their
dogs.
kibble in
Yeah,
there.
just put their kibble. Yeah, just throw it in there. It's fun. And actually, I've had them choose doing that activity over their bowls, where
Yeah.
there has been food in both, and they prefer to do this to eat out of the box with the newspaper in it.
Yeah, that just goes to show you how important it is for dogs to engage in sniffing, but also how much they enjoy that.
Yeah, that to me, and because they have those bowls like the slow feed bowls, but they still preferred the box to it. So
Yeah.
that, yeah, it does go to show how much they care.
hmm
Also, we talked about the up and down game. You gave that as a care tip. That's like my go-to now to help the dogs deal with frustration. So I just feel like it was worth mentioning that. And choose. You know, when I see Pepper getting real frustrated about wanting to get out of the cage to go to the cat, I give her a chew, and that tends to, you know, she tends to relax through the chew and then falls asleep after. So she's less on edge.
That's awesome. Yeah, chewing
Yeah.
really engages their like big cheek muscles and gives them a lot of deep pressure input to the nervous system that is great for managing stress and anxiety and like facilitating relaxation.
Cool. Well, it's so great to have all these tips. If you guys want to check out our care tip library, there's a bunch of them to help the dogs also. It's $4.99 a month on Spotify. But you know, one of the things that I've appreciated so much working with Sharon and getting the benefit of being her friend and colleague is that I've just learned a lot of ways to help dogs deal with frustration, which of course like lessens, you know, what we see as reactive aggressive behaviors or undesirable behaviors, because they also get frustrated. They also get angry and they also need an outlet.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think as humans, we are doing so much in our days that it can be like, oh, how can I have more time to like help my dog feel happy? But that's what I love about the sniff box is if like you just leave it out in your environment, all you have to do is take a handful of kibble and throw it in there and you can give your
Exactly.
dog a great activity and you can feel like, okay, I'm doing the stuff and I've got this.
Exactly. So another lovely conversation full of giggles. This one, I think.
Yeah, I really enjoyed hanging out with you today. This was a good one.
And our last two episodes are TBD on the theme. We are excited about it, and a little bit I'm like, I don't know what theme to choose. So we'll get back to you on that. Make sure to follow us on Instagram. That's where we will be announcing it. And we are going to take a short break for the holidays. We will be returning in early January. Also, we'll announce the date on our Instagram.
Awesome. Yeah. So check us out at happy dog _ happy human. Yes, that's it. That's it.
Yes.
All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great
Thank
holiday.
you.
Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to support the show, go to buymeacoffee.com/HDHH podcast and send us a few bucks so that we can stay awake and energized to make more content.
Even though we are licensed professionals in our own field of work, Angela, LCSW, Sharon, OTD, and CDBC, this podcast is not intended to replace individual therapy for humans or behavior support for dogs. We approach our conversations from an exploratory, observational, and strictly personal lens.
If you are struggling with your mental health, your dog's behavior, or if you or your dog have experienced a recent traumatic event, please see the resources section on our websites for a list of resources and places that can help. Visit either www.hc-collab.com/happydoghappyhuman or www.clouddoodles.com/happydoghappyhuman. This podcast is made possible by the collaboration between Cloud Doodles and Human Canine Collaborative. Check out our websites at www.clouddoodles.com or www.hc-collab.com. Special thanks to Tom Fox for support with editing and production consulting. You can find Tom at tomfoxphotos.com. Special thanks to Muggins, Duchess, Pepper, and Biscuit for sound effects and story examples. We could not and would not ever want to do this without you.